She rise up early morning, making moves all day. Always bow down, don't forget to pray. Cook that good food, know her family straight. She humble with grace, no sacrifice is too great for her. She's so wise and strong, won't compromise. Know where her value lies. Open mind, closed eyes. Emanates, eminence, radiates, elegance. You need proof, God exists, she is the evidence. 'Cause you are. Virtuous woman, yeah. 'Cause you are. Virtuous woman, yeah. Only fair touch you to serve your praise. On your work at the city gate, you are. Virtuous woman, yeah. She's a blessing, a gift to everyone in her presence. Came from a single essence, she divinely connected. In her husband find love, peace, and contentment. Her biggest investment is her family's progression. Well studied, a scholar at hand, can't be friends with no dummy. Use what God gave her to make her money. Submissive and loving, sweeter than honey. And 'cause she walking in faith, her way is being paid for her. VIRTUOUS. Everything she do, she pray that God accepts. She works in his name, 'cause he pays the best. Highly favored, highly blessed, fears God and nothing less. 'Cause you are. Virtuous woman, yeah. 'Cause you are.
So, peace and blessings. Welcome to the Proverbs 31 Wombman podcast. I'm your host, Sister Student Minister, Dr. Eminence Muhammad. Thank you all for joining us this evening for what promises to be an enlightening and transformative discussion. Tonight, we have the pleasure of welcoming a remarkable guest, Sister Angela Muhammad. Sister Angela is the owner and CEO of Surgi-Care LLC, the operations manager and coordinator at Unity Bakery and Cafe. She is a Reiki practitioner level 2 at Infinite Healers. She is also a devoted mother and an exceptional cook, known for her healing gifts and her ability to inspire and motivate people with her beautiful spirit and her godly energy. Our topic for tonight's episode is embracing the divine gift of Reiki. Healing the healers. Reiki is a holistic healing practice that channels universal life force energy to promote balance, relaxation, and healing. The practice benefits both the giver and the receiver, embracing overall well-being, reducing stress, and giving us a deep sense of inner peace and connection. I chose this topic because I believe that every healer needs a healer in our journey of providing care and support to others. It's essential to remember that we too need to nurture and heal ourselves. By understanding and embracing the principles of Reiki, we can cultivate a healthier mindset, develop discernment, and maintain overall well-being, continuing to serve and uplift others. So sit back, relax, and join us as we go into the transformative power of Reiki with Sister Angela Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Angela. How are you tonight?
Wa alaikum salam, sis. I am doing well by the grace and mercy of Allah, sis. How are you? Are you able to hear me?
Sister Angela, do you want to introduce yourself to our Yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
Okay.
So I was saying, are you able to introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about yourself before we begin tonight's program?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. So Sister Angela Muhammad. I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama, now living in Jacksonville, Florida. I am the mother of 5. Uh, Sister Angela is I'm a medical assistant. I work for a very busy neurosurgeon's office in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm also, as you stated, I started a bakery business with my daughter some years ago, and I'm part of the operations for that as well. We take that very seriously. Our baking, we don't play about that. And I also started a business. I have an LLC. It's called Surgi-Care, and the goal behind Surgi-Care was to help offer assistance to people who had surgery and they didn't have any type of assistance after the surgery. So it was to help them during the recovery period. I just saw a need, and it just came in my head that this is something that needs to be offered to people who have to undergo surgery, but they just didn't have the assistance that they need to recover properly. So I started Surgi-Care for that purpose. Um, what else? I'm a Reiki practitioner. I have been a Reiki practitioner level 2 since 2010. And how I got into, and that's one of the things I wanted to share with you all, how I got into Reiki. And you gave a beautiful explanation, Sister Eminence, of what Reiki medicine is. For those who may not be familiar with energy medicine, you gave a very good breakdown of that. So I became familiar with Reiki after reading a book from one of our sisters, Dr. Darnita Muhammad. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, but she wrote this book, and it's called Gift for Life. I'm not sure if the book is still in print or if you're able to order it or anything of that nature, but the sister gave a brilliant connection with the energy centers or the shock. She broke down how you could connect the study guides from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to the various illnesses that we suffer from. And so when I was reading this book, I came across her speaking about Reiki. And it said that you don't find Reiki, Reiki finds you when you are ready to receive it. So I came across it in this book, and I just wanted to share one of the excerpts that she shared in the book. She said the ancient healing system known as Reiki, that uses energy as the modality to promote healing down to the DNA level, is now substantiated by Allah coming in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And that is when I started my journey into finding out what Reiki is. So I'm a level 2 Reiki practitioner currently, looking to become a Reiki master in the near future with the help of Allah, so that I may be able to administer the training, the teaching of Reiki to others and give the attunements. So that's Sister Angela.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. So, my first question to you is, how has your journey with Reiki influenced your understanding of self-care and its importance in maintaining mental and emotional well-being?
So I would say through Reiki, my journey, I've learned the importance of balancing your emotional, physical, mental, how that is, it's paramount to be able to function and operate optimally. I went through a period of time after my second divorce where, it's just like you feel off, you feel the disconnect. And I knew that I needed to reconnect back to who Angela is. So that was the first time I ever went to a therapist who was also a practitioner. And one of the things that he was saying to me, not that I didn't know it, it was just kind of like I had forgot. And one of the things that he shared with me, he said, Sister, Angela, you do a lot. He said, you're short resources and you do a lot. And he said, you're kind of operating like a superwoman, but even superwoman has to take off her cape sometimes. And it just kind of hit me when he said that, like, we do a lot, and sometimes it may be inadvertently that we neglect our self-care because we're taking care of so many other things outside of. But if we're not taking care of ourselves, then we cannot do what we need to do for others. It's self first and then others. And so we have to make sure that is a priority in our lives. It's like nobody can make you do that. You have to know that your own self-care is a priority. And that's how you have to move with making sure that you're caring for yourself. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he did address the struggle for balance, the Mizan, in the study guide, the study guide 4. And it's interesting how he said it's a struggle. And that struggle for balancing is real. I mean, it's real, but it's necessary because we're trying to align
Yeah.
ourselves, you know, our mind, our body, and our soul. We're trying to get that alignment so that we are functioning like we should be functioning. So, so yeah, that's it. I mean, and that's been part of my journey, but it's been, you know, once you understand that and you don't look at it as, because sometimes I think people think caring for yourself may be selfish, but it's really not. Because that is how you are able to care for and do what you need to do for other people by taking care of yourself first. So that has to be, it has to be a priority. It has to be.
Yes, ma'am. That was so beautiful. And for the listening audience, the sister said that after her divorce, she got some therapy. And I just wanted to reiterate the importance of that because self is priority. You have to prioritize your own health. So I agree,
Exactly.
and that was beautiful. So my
Thank
next question is, and you kind of already did it, but maybe there's something else you want to share with us. But my next question is, can you share a personal or client experience where Reiki played a pivotal role in promoting resilience and inner strength during challenging times?
Yes, ma'am. So I will I'll kind of tell this story. It was with myself. Um, so in my younger years, I was very active in sports, basketball and volleyball. Well, volleyball is very taxing on your knees. So I ended up with over the years what they call a hyper mobile patella, which means my kneecap was very mobile. It, like I could make a step and it would just twist out. And this one particular day, I got up out of the bed and I just made a step and it twisted out. So when I fell, I thought I it hurt so bad I thought it was broke, but it wasn't. You know, I had a lot of swelling and everything. Went to work, still went to work. A brace guy at the job, he actually was able to put some brace on my knee for me. And then I went and had X-rays done and performed, and you know, they told me that I had a grade 3 ACL tear and a tibial plateau fracture at the same time. So, with the tibial plateau fracture, they said there was nothing they could do about it, just let it heal. But the doctor already wanted to do surgery because of the tear. He said, you know, and I said, well, how long am I going to be out? And he said, probably about 9 weeks. I said, oh, no, no, we're not doing that. I said, what else, you know, what other options do I have? He said, well, you can try therapy, but you're going to need surgery. And I said, well, let's try therapy and see what happens with that. I go to therapy. I went one time because the therapist, she was doing some exercises and she gave me a better brace that would help mobilize my knee because it was just completely unstable. It was just terrible. And so, you know, but that was like $45 every time I went. Twice a week is what they were saying I was going to need. I'm a single mother. I have children. And I was like, that's not going to happen. So what I did, I got the exercises that she gave me. And I said, I'm a healer. I'm a healer. So I went to the gym. And what I did was I worked on leg extensions for my knee, the exercise machine for leg extensions, and I did my Reiki treatments on myself. I would do it consistently. And to show you the comparison, I went one time to therapy and I didn't go back. I did not go back. Um, the doctor I worked for, he goes to Sweden. I think it was Sweden, but he was on one of those um, snowmobiles. He hits a tree and tore his PCL. Now he was in therapy for a year and a half.
Mm.
I went to one session and then got in the gym, did my leg extensions, and did my Reiki treatment. Now my knee, no surgery, and the doctor told me, he said, you can go try therapy, but you're going to be back. You're going to need surgery. And I was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not, sir. And so, so that's all I did. I think it was probably 6 months of consistently working out. Then I was able to get back into the gym. I like spin. That's my class. I like a spin class. I was able to get back into my spin class, get on the bike and ride the bike, and now I can run on my leg. It to me, it's like, it wasn't. I didn't have that type of injury, but it was horrible. And a grade 3 ACL tear is like you have no stability to your knee. I mean, literally, it will just buckle on you. And so, but with that, I was able to heal. So I will attest to the power of Reiki.
Yes, ma'am. I'm just saying, the fact that you said that you're a healer, so you said, I'm not about to spend this kind of money when I could just give myself some treatments. That's just what it's
Absolutely.
all about.
That's right.
So, what advice would you give to individuals seeking to cultivate a deeper sense of intuition and spiritual awareness in their daily lives?
Okay, so I'm going to share a quote from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He said, "We cannot be successful in making the progress of a spiritual life unless we have the guidance for the physical life. This guidance comes to us through laws, rules, and regulations of our physical life." So you really can't separate the two. The spiritual development as well as caring for your physical. My advice would be to begin with self-discovery. Like you have to know who you are. Working up towards self-mastery, which requires discipline, it requires restriction. And
Yes.
once you've accepted who you are and you're authentically operating in who you are, we're able to attain higher levels of how do you say it? Higher levels of operating, I guess you could say. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I remember reading, this was to the women. He said that spiritless women are not a blessing to the nation. He said spirit-filled
Mm.
women are a blessing to the nation. And one of the ways that we protect our spirits is through taking charge of our post in all temporal property in view. Like you have to literally guard your spirit. And it's not um, something bad to do that, to protect yourself, to protect and guard your spirit. You have to literally like put on the armor of God as it refers to your spirit and protecting yourself, because we are trying to ascend, we're trying to elevate ourselves, we're trying to grow, we're trying to grow this energy, this spirit, this life force in us. We're trying to get that to expand, and you have to be willing to protect yourself. What I want people to know is when you're doing your self-discovery and you're learning about yourself, sometimes it can be, I don't want you to fear what you may see in yourself that may not be ideal. Um, that's kind of what you want to happen, are the things that we see within ourselves that um, we don't like. That's the opportunity for us to look at it for what it is, and we can make those changes to ourselves to better ourselves. Those aspects that we have that are less than ideal is what keeps us away from aligning with God, because that's really what we're trying to do, is to meet with God. And so we have to address those issues that we have, those things that we see within ourselves, um, that kind of inhibit us from connecting with God like we should. I believe that the relationship with God, that's just my own personal beliefs. However you call him, source, the most high, the almighty, however you refer to God, Allah, um, it has to be solidified. Like, you have to have a strong connection to source to be able to elevate yourself to that level, the ascension. And part of that comes from cleaning up, because God cannot dwell in a dirty house. So there's certain things that we have to do within ourselves as far as cleaning ourselves up to welcome in that spirit of God within us. So that's why I tell people, don't be fearful of what you see coming up out of you. That's okay. That's what you that's what you want to happen. See that, look at it for what it is, and look, you don't like it. That's the time to look at it, address it, and let's just make those improvements within ourselves to become the best version of ourselves. And as we're doing that, we're elevating spiritually. I don't know if you may be too young to remember Sister Eminence. I don't know what you are, but there was a movie, The Last Dragon. I don't know if you've ever seen it or heard of it, but it was this movie about this brother who was trying to, he was, into Kung Fu karate. I think it was Kung Fu or karate. But anyway, I was kind of young when I first saw it. And the movie, he was trying to find the master, and his teacher was trying to show him, well, the master is basically within you. You gotta, elevate yourself to self mastery, And they had this song in that movie, and it was called The Glow. And I remember the song and everything, but I had never looked at it, the words, until it like came to me. And I don't know why. I wasn't watching the movie or anything, but the song came to me. I started looking at the words in the song, and it had a really deep meaning for me. And the author of the song was saying how to reach the upper level, your mind, body, and soul must become one. You have to have that alignment. You have to attain that connection, that balance, that connection there. And he said, once you get there, you get a glow. And that's like the meeting with God, with Allah, So I didn't realize it when I first heard the song, but the more I looked at it and looked at the words of the song, if anybody's never really looked at it, he says in the song that, it's a sacrifice to get there. It takes hard work, and it's a way of life. And I was like, oh, that's Islam right there. I started connecting it and seeing deeper into the song, the words of the song, that just made me think that's the ascension that we're talking about. You're trying to elevate to a higher level. You're trying to attain self mastery. And that requires discipline. It requires discipline. It ain't easy. It ain't easy, but that's what it requires. It's a sacrifice. So practices like prayer, meditation, fasting, and constantly feeding on higher level conversations, the word of Allah that has been revealed to us, it helps to elevate our vibration. We have to be mindful of the food choices that we make, because whether we believe it or not, or whether we want to accept it or not, certain foods are low vibration foods, and it affects us. So you want to be mindful of what we're consuming and putting into our bodies. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that a vegetarian diet is the best diet. Certain meats, they are very, very low vibrational. And we wonder why we nervous. We wonder why we act a certain way, but a lot of it has to do with what it is that we're consuming and taking into our body. So those are things that we should be mindful of if we're trying to elevate and attain higher levels of consciousness or awareness. We're trying to vibrate higher. We're trying to elevate and ascend. So those are good things that we should, look at, possibly change in our lives if necessary to attain that higher level.
everything that you said is nothing but truth.
Praise
Nothing but the
Allah.
truth. It's the discipline, just the discipline of the stomach. That's the whole beginning. And I love that you elaborated and expounded on that. And for the listening audience, this is our sister, Angela Muhammad. She is a Reiki practitioner, and along with other things, but collectively, everything she does is about healing, whether it's the way she cooks her food, whether it's actually physically laying hands on people, or if it's when she gets up to go and work with the people who have just had surgery and
Yeah,
need someone there for them because they don't have family or friends. So our sister is exemplifying what it means to be a Proverbs 31 woman. And I love it.
praise
And
Allah.
that's why when you see a woman like this, you have to give them their flowers and you have to celebrate them because this world is not filled with good people. So I just love being amongst good people.
Praise be to Allah.
So our next question is, in your view, Sister Angela, how can holistic practices like Reiki contribute to a more compassionate and empathetic? I'm using your favorite word, empathetic, because you love talking about empaths. And I do know
Yes.
you're going to get into it right. So, how can
Yes.
Reiki, right, give us a more compassionate and empathetic approach to self and others?
So with Reiki, as healers, it's to me it's a very selfless practice because what you're doing is you're focusing on assisting someone else in their healing. I know we said we're healers, but really with Reiki, you're channeling energy. You act as a conduit to have the
Mm,
energy pass into the other person to help them heal themselves. So you're really kind of assisting them. But you have to have a level of compassion and empathy to care to even want to help somebody because a lot of times
that's
we we become, and this, I mean, I'm talking about today. I see it so much how we are desensitized to one another, the suffering of other people, like it doesn't matter, like we don't even really look at the things that people go through and how things affect them. It's just like we become very self-centered, and if it's not affecting me, then it doesn't matter. I don't think that that's a good way to be. You know, letting letting go of self, stepping outside of you to consider someone else, um, I think is a form of love. And Reiki is one of the practices where you get an opportunity to connect with other people. You hear what they're going through. Like when I'm doing my healing sessions, I go through a rundown of what is going on with the person that I'm doing a session on. I utilize, because I'm trying to clear the blockages, um, wherever it may be. I utilize a pendulum, which helps me to know exactly where the blockages are. And just like if you've ever suffered a blockage in any part of your body, you know that it disrupts everything. And it's the same when your energy centers or your chakras are blocked. It disrupts the flow of that life force in you and it sets up dis-ease. Um, as a Reiki practitioner, I want to see people well. I want to see people operating optimally. I want to see people doing good and enjoying life and happy and flourishing and healthy. I mean, I work in a hospital, so I see all kinds of things. I work with surgery patients, so I see all kinds of things. I work with cancer patients, so I see all kinds of things. And that's where I should be. I mean, I'm exactly where I should be, but at the same time, there's a level of empathy that I have where I don't want to see people suffering. So with Reiki, you actually you want to see people heal, and that's why you do that. Some people have become Reiki practitioners, and they use this as a means of living. You know, they've set up practices, and they this is their business, this is their livelihood. That's how they take care of themselves and their families. It wasn't like that for me. When I came into contact with what Reiki was, and I have my first session, and I like again, I was like, I need to learn what this is. I need to learn how to do it. That was after my first session. Um, I knew I wanted to be able to offer this to people, but not for monetary gain. So when I do my sessions, I say, if people want to do a love offering, that's fine. You don't even have to do that. Um, because I feel like the gift that was given to me to administer this, I really shouldn't charge for it. I really should do what I'm supposed to do and help heal people. So I don't charge people for my sessions. If they want to do a love offering, that's fine, but I don't require it. I require you to get better. That's all I want. Just get better. That makes me feel good, you know. So I think with practices like this, the only other healing modality that I've looked into outside of Reiki was pranic healing, and it's still it's being compassionate and looking towards the betterment of the human family. Like, you want to see people doing well, you want to see people healed, you don't want to see people suffering or going through bad experiences and pain. That hurts me. Like, if I see people in pain, it hurts me. So you don't want to see that. And however I can help alleviate that, then I'm going to be found doing it. So it does. It just increases empathy. And I hope, humanity as a whole develops more or greater empathy for one another, because that's something that we really don't have. We are really desensitized to one another. And like I said, it's the mentality of, if it's not affecting me, then I don't care about it. And I think that's the wrong way to be as human beings. So
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I mean, I'm just listening to everything you're saying, and I know we have a lot of people that have tuned in who are practitioners as well, and they're bearing witness because at the end of the day, that's probably the hardest thing to do is to charge for healing services. And as you mentioned, like I personally have always found myself either having contracts or working a job in addition to providing healing services, because
right.
when someone comes to you and they're not well, you're not going to turn them away just because they lack the finances.
Minds,
So it's
exactly.
kind of like a catch 22, because you got to make a living and then you also want to heal the world. So it's like you end up, you know, doing services that bring money, and then those true healing services, it's kind of like you said, what do you have? What are you going
Right.
whatever you can afford, that's the price today. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
completely understand. Just on an empathetic level, I understand that. So,
Yes,
and then
ma'am.
if you are married, which you were married, that can be an issue too, because it's like, why are you working for nothing? Or why aren't you charging? But we have to understand that there's just some, it's just there's some things in life you can't explain, and the feeling that happens when someone tells you that they're better because of the services that you allow to flow through you, because it's not us, it's the source.
It's
Whatever your
source.
source is, it's the
Yes.
source. So once the
Yeah.
source done its job, there's nothing more rewarding, nothing. So I
Yes,
totally
ma'am.
understand.
It's just like you're a willing vessel. That's it. Use
Ooh,
me. Here I am a lot. Use me. Here I am. It's really that.
that's right. Yes. So how do you navigate and manage energy boundaries in your role as a healer? And what strategies do you recommend for maintaining energetic boundaries and balance? Because this is very important.
Right. So this is something I had to learn because the type of person I am, like you said earlier, I be trying to heal the world. Like I know I can't, but I still want to.
Right.
So you kind of have to understand that the reality is you can't. You can only do what you can do, and you can't do that
That's
to the
right.
detriment of yourself. So I open
That's right.
myself up and give myself access to certain people as I should. But at the same time, I still have to maintain boundaries. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say you ain't okay.
Yes.
It's okay to say I don't feel well.
Yes.
It's okay to take time to
Yes.
yourself. It's okay.
Yes.
And you can't feel bad about that. I give the analogy all the time of a bank account. Like
Mm.
your energy is your currency, and you got people withdrawing from your currency or your bank account at will. Well, eventually you're going to be in the negative because there ain't nobody putting nothing
That's
back, right? They need to
right.
take, they need what you have, but
Right.
nobody's putting anything back. So eventually you're going to be in the negative, right? So if I'm in the negative, I can't give nothing to anybody else. So
That's
the
right.
boundaries are set for, of course, your self protection, but it's not just that, it's to be able to do what you need to do for other people. Like, you don't want me when I ain't right. You ain't gonna want to deal with me. Say, I need Sister Angela when she right. You don't need me
Right.
when I ain't right. So let me do what I need to do to keep me right. Now, that varies, I think, on an individual basis of what helps to keep your energy level where it needs to be so that you're functioning optimally. Um, some people, like, music is a big thing for me. It's a huge thing for
Oh,
me keeping
yes.
my energy and my vibration where it needs to be. I'm very particular about the type of music I listen to. I work at a hospital. I have to set my music when I'm driving into work because it puts my vibration at a certain level that when I go in that hospital, they know what they're getting from me. Like, they know me to be a certain level. They know my energy to be a certain level. So I have to make sure I set the stage for myself, and I use music all the time to do that. So I'm careful about the type of music that I listen to, but it helps keep my vibration up even at night. Um,
Mm.
so some people don't like listening to music at night, but I listen to high frequency music at night. It'll put you into like a deep sleep, so that you're well rested, and your body's repairing yourself, because music is healing. It can be killing too if we're listening
Yes.
to the wrong type of music, but there's healing in music.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so I personally use music as a way to help keep my energy and my vibration where I need it to be. Also, I like to I have to recharge, so I will get into a quiet space. Like, don't bother me. I got to get myself together. Um, like I tell my children, they're so precious. Oh my God, I love my children. But Wednesdays I have a
Yes.
clinic day with my job, and it's very stressful. We see about 40 patients, um, with various issues. I work in endovascular, so you're talking about brain aneurysms, you're talking about stroke victims, you're talking about people who have gone through some serious things, cancer patients with tumors, and it's a lot. It's not physically tiring, but mentally, it's a lot that you're pulling in. So, the people aren't trying to load on you like that. They're not trying to, but they have issues, and it just happens that way. So you have to be I have to be mindful of that when I come home. I tell my children it's my clinic day. They already know I'm coming in my room. They know I'm gonna relax, get cleaned up, relax, and they don't bother me for the rest of the day because they know I have to recharge from what I dealt with before. Another practice that I use is grounding and shielding. And if anyone is listening and they're they're into energy and they're into Reiki and spiritual practices, about grounding and shielding. Shielding is basically where you're envisioning yourself in a protective, like white light, and you're shielding yourself from energies from other people because energy is contagious. We hear it all the time. Energy is contagious, and you don't want to pick up energies that aren't yours. You want to let me maintain my energy. I don't want to pick up outside energies. So shielding is a technique that healers use all the time so that we're not picking up negative energy that ends up, like draining us. It'll drain you. And the other thing is grounding. And grounding is basically just connecting back with earth. You're like getting recharged from the earth. One way to do it is I live by the water, but going by the beach and just putting your feet in the sand is a form of grounding. Laying in the grass is a form of grounding. Walking in the grass is grounding. You're connecting back to earth, and you're getting the charge from the earth to you. You're recharged like we're a battery. You're recharging yourself. And so those are practices that help to maintain your energy level and keep your energy where it needs to be so that you're functioning optimally. Like I said, I can't give anybody something that I don't have. If I'm not cultivating love for myself, if I'm not cultivating compassion for myself, if I'm not cultivating empathy for myself, if I'm not cultivating self-care, there's nothing that I can give to anybody else that I don't have for myself. So it all starts with you. You have to make sure that you start there. And then once you cultivated all of that within yourself, then you are able to share that with other people. You let them experience that. But it has to start with you.
Yes, ma'am. I agree 100%. You said that so eloquently and so perfectly. I mean, itself, and that recharging is so important. Like, I mean, everything you saying is for those that are listening that are into energy healing. It's like that's so rewarding at the end of a long day to just be in
Recharge.
complete nothingness, just nothingness, and just allow your cells to just rejuvenate. When you try to, we're going to get into that in the upcoming question, but as you were talking, and I'm just imagining how if there was someone present while you're doing this, the look on their face would be like, are you serious? If they don't know what that feels
What
like.
it is.
So when you
Yeah.
try to describe it, someone who has never encountered it, they will never understand how rewarding it is to wake up after that experience of just being in nothingness, just
Right.
allowing yourself to just let go, just relax, and not
Yes.
just relax on a physical level, but relaxing energetically in every
Mm-hmm.
way.
Yes.
Whew, you got me ready to go with that as soon as we get done. So, so my next question is, from your perspective, how can individuals discern between genuine holistic healing practices and those that may lack credibility or effectiveness? Because like you were just talking about, you ultimately have the desire to want to heal people. And because now there are people who charge a lot of money for these services.
Mhm.
So, how could you tell our listening audience from your own perspective how they can discern between a genuine holistic practice or those that may lack credibility and effectiveness, so that they will be mindful of just allowing themselves to get, drawn into something that might not be truly genuine. So, from your own discernment, what would you say?
I would say you're gonna have to do a lot of research. If you're interested in um, trying alternate methodologies of healing, then you're gonna have to do some research to find out if it's on the up and up. Like I said, I'm a Reiki practitioner, but the only other healing practice that I've even looked at or saw a benefit from, because I've experienced it myself, was pranic healing. So I would say, what is it rooted in? Because even when I got interested in Reiki, I have my belief system. I know what I believe. And I had to
Yes.
see if it was in alignment with that. So, like, even when I went for my first Reiki session, I did some research online. I was reading up on it, and um, I said, well, let me go experience this and see what it is. But I wanted to make sure that it was in alignment with my beliefs and it wasn't outside of that, because I didn't want to, be engaged in something that was satanic, and I know. But when they were describing what Reiki was as laying on hands, I grew up in the church. So I have a very strong Christian background. And I remember reading about Jesus laying on hands and healing people. And I said, well, how did he go about doing that? How did he do it? If he was laying on hands, what was the process that occurred, and how is he able to do it? So when I was reading about Reiki, that was one of the things that they said, was that it's laying on hands. So it aligns with me. um, I would say to people who are interested in checking different types of healing practices, just do a lot of research. Make sure that the people are credible. Make sure that they have their certification. Make sure that they've gone through training. Um, and that's pretty much it. Like I said, the only two that I've experienced, I went to a pranic healing. Pranic healing is really more about cleaning your aura, your energy field, and through breathing techniques. Well, that's natural. That ain't satanic. We we gotta breathe, right? You gotta live. So if somebody teaching
Right.
you the
That's
proper way of breathing, I didn't see anything that I could object about that, because that's natural. That's the breath of life. To me, if it's connected into
right.
the universal way of living, if it's connected to, because you got to have some kind of knowledge of how this thing works, right? You got to believe in something to be able to
Yeah.
see if it aligns with
Mhm.
what's real. Now, breathing is real. So I didn't see any type of conflict with what I believe in trying a pranic healing session. And I will say, I went to one, it was a group pranic healing, and it was absolutely amazing. And I had never experienced anything like that before. And when I left there, I felt like I was floating out of there. So it was very powerful. But I say, when you have your belief systems, if it doesn't conflict with that, then it's worth investigating to see if there's some type of um, you know if it's really what it is. But if it's connected to the universal order of things, I think it's worth investigating if that's what you believe. I mean, you should, because
Yes. Mhm.
that's creation, right? If it
Yes,
comes
indeed.
from source, if it's something that relates to what's real, then it's worth investigating. So that's what I would say, is just do your research and check. And if you're gonna go with a practitioner, check how they're charging, right? Check what their credentials are, their credibility, and things of that nature. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much what I would say about that.
Yeah. Awesome. So, as someone deeply involved in both healing and business management, how do you integrate spiritual principles into your leadership style, and what benefits have you observed from this approach?
Okay, so I'm really big on authenticity, like just being who you are. I'm actually doing a push right now on my Facebook and everything. I've created T-shirts and everything about um, just really being authentically who you are individually, accepting yourself,
Mm,
your unique self, and
mm,
understanding
mm.
that that is like it's beauty in that. We're not all the same in our individualism. We
Right.
have a lost stamp on us, and what I'm trying to get people to understand is that's beautiful. That's what I need to experience. I need to experience somebody who ain't like me. Like, let me be Sister
That's
Angela,
right.
but you be you, and let me experience the beauty of a lot in you, and and accept that. Um, I don't hide who I am at all. I'm a Muslim. People that are around me, they know that. I walk in that. I'm gonna be that. I don't need nobody's acceptance. That's just who I am.
That's
So
right.
I want people to experience what a Muslim is, or a striving Muslim, with Sister Angela. So I operate authentically in that, and that's what they get. What I've come to find is people respect people who are themselves. People are attracted to people who are themselves. You become like a magnet, and people are drawn to you because you exemplify being who you are authentically. There's no faking, there's no facade or anything like that. You are being true to who yourself is. But you can't know that unless you are studying yourself. You can't know who you are unless you're discovering yourself. You have to delve into who you are. And I had to go through a process of that in myself, because it's like I forgot who I was. I had to reconnect back to who Angela is. But once you do that, and you've accepted that, you've accepted who you are, that's love right there. So people recognize that, and they respect it.
Yes.
So whenever I'm around, even at my job, they know what they get from me. you know I work at a assisted living facility as well, with older people, and they get the same thing. It's just me being who I am, and I'm exemplifying what's in me, and that's exemplifying love. I can't be anything but that. That's just who I am. So what I've benefited from this, what I've come to recognize from being authentically who I am, is I have like friendships in all walks of life. Like, I've been able to connect with people just on all different types of levels. And I appreciate that. I mean, it's wonderful. um and I'll tell you a story that happened with COVID, when we were getting the vaccinations for COVID. And I had been getting a religious exemption for like three, I think it was 3 years at that time. No problem. No problem at all getting a religious exemption. And when COVID came around, they were asking for more documentation for proof of why you couldn't get the COVID vaccination. Well, I provided that. And then they approved me for the exemption for the COVID vaccination. I think it was maybe a couple months after that, they wanted the flu vaccination right after people were getting the COVID vaccination. And so I applied for the exemption for the flu vaccination again after being approved for years before, and they denied me. for the flu, not for COVID, for the flu. So I appealed it, and they rejected my appeal. And basically they were going to fire me because of that. They were going to fire me because I didn't get the flu vaccination. So the doctor I work for, he was kind of upset with me because I wouldn't get the flu vaccination. So we were having a conversation, and he's like, I can't believe that you're going to lose your job. I can't believe that you're going to do that. And you got people relying on you. You have children, and he was a little bothered by my decision. In his mind, I was being selfish in my decision making. But in reality, I was thinking about myself, and I was thinking about my family. And it's, what if I give this vaccination and something happens and I have an adverse effect from the vaccination? Who's going to take care of my children then? Right. So I had to tell him, I need to talk to you in private. I told him to come into the office, and we go into his office, and I told him, I said, I need you to sit down, sir. I need you to listen to me. I need you to hear something. And I said, listen, Muslims are very serious people. I had to get him to understand. I said, Muslims are very serious people. I said, I don't fear this. I said, this is not something I fear. I don't fear being unemployed. I don't fear losing my job and my children not being taken care of. I said, because if I told y'all some stories about how Allah showed up and showed out for me, like you go from being a believer into a knower that Allah got you and will sustain you, and He's sufficient for all your needs. I got those stories. So I told him, I said, I don't fear that. I said, but what I do fear is being disobedient to the God I serve. So I said, you need to understand that that's how I operate. So I don't know what you think this is, but this ain't that. I'm not that. So he sits back in his chair, and he was like, as your doctor, he said, I don't agree with what you're doing. He said, but as your friend, he said, I will support you. And he said, if you're going to fight this, I'm going to fight with you. And I was like, if you ain't rolling with me like that, I don't need you rolling. You ain't got to agree with what I'm doing. Just roll with me what I'm doing. If you ain't rolling with me like that, I don't need you. So next thing I know, I had an attorney retained. I had an attorney. I didn't have to retain the attorney. And then we had to deal with their legal team because we were going to sue for discrimination, because it was crazy, because before I was approved for the flu vaccination, no problem. And then they flipped it, and they were going to terminate me because I was not getting the flu vaccination. So I'm saying that to say, me being authentically who I am, and I'm going to be that. I don't need nobody's approval. You ain't got to like it. You ain't got to accept it.
Ma'am.
I'm not seeking your
That's
approval.
right.
I didn't believe I'm not. I am seeking the approval of God. Now that I do care about. That matters to me a lot. And so that's all I'm seeking, is if whatever I do, even in my flaws, even in my errors, even in my mistakes, if Allah has mercy on me and He's approving me and I'm able to justify my right to exist in His creation, then I'm doing what I should be doing. I don't need anybody else's approval for that. I'm going to strive to be the best person that I can be, because I want Allah to be proud of me. So, but I'm telling that story because I attained, from being who I am, friendships in all walks of life. Like I said, it's like people respect that. You're not trying to, I'm not trying to fit in. I'm not trying to do what you do, and I don't have a problem stepping outside of that. I don't have a problem being different. I don't have a problem not going with what everybody else goes. I don't go along to get along. I'm not that person. And people respect that. So my benefit that I've noticed from me being authentically me is I have friends in all walks of life, and it's really a beautiful thing. It really is.
Alhamdulillah. Wow. I have truly enjoyed this episode. I really have.
Praise be to Allah.
It's
Praise be
just
to Allah.
listening. Yes, ma'am. Listening to you talk, right? Um, it just exemplifies that when someone is on a path in a journey that they have put their trust in, because a lot of times people just are living life. They're
Yeah,
not committed or devoted to what they do. They're
right.
just doing. Life is
Yes.
just happening. But to consciously be working in a direction that your soul can be at rest and pleased
Yes.
and able to sleep at night knowing that you're striving in a way that you know that Master Fard Muhammad is proud of, to me, that's heaven on earth.
Come
So
on
I'm very,
now. Come on.
yes,
That's
ma'am. I'm
right.
very happy for you. And
Praise be to Allah.
I'm very proud of you because you're my sister. And it does my heart joy to see you operating in such a high frequency. And all I was thinking about while you were talking is Dr. Ava Muhammad, because she's always talking about the elevated places and the
Yes.
apartments and, you know,
Yes.
and everything. So it makes me just remember her, and may Allah be pleased with our great sister.
Mm,
She was always keeping our mind on a heightened
higher
level.
level.
And
Yes.
anything that in this world we're going to strive for that isn't to keep us elevated, we should not want it. And that's what
That's
I was
right.
hearing as you were talking, because during COVID, unfortunately, a lot of Muslims got vaccinated. A lot of Muslims, doctors, nurses, CNAs, medical assistants, surgeon techs, what you name it, a lot of Muslims. Because when your survival is threatened and
Right.
you start to wonder how you're going to eat, how you're going to provide for your family and yourself, and
Right.
then this job is saying if you don't get vaccinated, you're fired, which a lot of clinics, hospitals, doctors' offices, these mandates, it became mandatory. And they did
Facts.
remove the exempts, and you had to go before a jury really to even get the case heard. So
Right.
that was happening all around the country. And so I'm so glad that you fought that, because I know people who are Muslim who actually got the vaccine due to their job. So I just want to applaud you on that you stood your ground and Allah was with you and showed up and showed out for you
Shut
because you
up. I'm
stayed
telling you.
true to
Yes,
what it
ma'am.
is. Our man of the
That's right.
told us, do not take that vaccine.
That's it.
So I'm thankful for that. So do you have any other closing remarks that you would like to share with our audience about Reiki and how every healer needs a healer? Because right now, you're a healer, but you just told us that when you got hurt, you were open to going somewhere to get healed, because who wants to not, even though you ended up working on yourself? But there's nothing wrong with seeking out to get some help. And you said you went to therapy, which I am a huge advocate for therapy. Like, I myself have been to therapy. And if anything ever occurs in my life, I will go again, because there's just no way I'm going to waddle in depression and stress. And me, I don't know about you, but I don't work on anybody if I'm going through something. So I have
Right.
to maintain a
You
certain
have to be
level
careful.
of healed.
Right.
So can you
Absolutely.
just share some closing remarks and inspiration with our audience to get them going in that direction? Because the Bible says, physician, heal thyself. So,
Yes.
with that being said, what do you want to share with the audience?
So I want to just share with everyone. as healers, we understand that we can't heal anyone else without healing ourselves. Again, it all goes back to us, and making sure that we are, clear. We're like Sister Eminence just said, you don't want to be in a position where you're trying to heal somebody and you're not at a level where you should be. You really have to be clear, and you have to maintain yourself. One thing I wanted to say and share is, um, Reiki is a powerful. It's a very powerful um, process and tool that we have available. We don't know anything about it. Like it's not talked about in our community much at all. But I would love to see more believers who are interested in becoming Reiki practitioners to be able to administer this help to so many people that need it, especially amongst the brothers. I only know of two brothers who are Reiki practitioners, which I love that. I think it's absolutely beautiful, but I would love to see more brothers who are interested in learning um, this healing modality to be able to offer it to other brothers as well. Um, so, healing is something that we should embark on. We should be healing ourselves emotionally, physically. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that, we're all wounded. Like, it's you can act
Right.
like you ain't if you want to, but I'm telling you, you are. And we're all wounded. You're deceiving yourself if you think otherwise. So there's multiple things, like even with, and I'll go back to Dianetics as far as our mental, um, you know, auditing is very powerful. I am also, I don't know if I said that, but I'm a certified Dianetics auditor as well. So auditing is a very powerful way for us to clear ourselves mentally. And remember, you can't separate the two; it's interconnected, the mind, the body, and the soul. We have to get clear to be able to function optimally, and we're trying to attain that balance. The struggle is real; it's real, but we can do that. It's about self
Right.
mastery, and we're trying to attain that higher level, that upper level, that meeting with Allah. That's what we're trying to do. So that's what I wanted to share with
That's
everybody. And
right.
again, brothers, please, please become Reiki practitioners.
She said, please, like, please, more
Please.
than once. So, let's go into a little bit of the comments. If anybody has a question for our guest, Sister Angela, please put it in the comment section so that she can do a Q&A before we close out. But we have brother Sean Ali says, Assalamu alaikum. We have our brother Willie Tolbert. He said, peace be unto you.
Wa alaikum
We have
salam.
our brother Daniel Kelly says, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa
We have our brother Mark Muhammad. He's saying alaikum salam. We have, that's my husband too, by the way.
Yes.
We have our sister Minerva Legata. She's right here in Springfield, and she says watching. We have our sister Denise Renee. She says Assalamu
Oh,
alaikum, sisters. We just love
wa alaikum
Denise.
salam.
Yeah, we have our brother Michael Douglas. He's just supporting. Our brother says how informative. We have
Praise
our
be to Allah.
sister Tisha
Who's
Muhammad, and she is
that's it?
saying, "Who's the master?" Sure enough, she must be referring to um,
The movie.
the movie. Yes, ma'am. We have our sister Minerva Legato again saying that it's true. Healing is so important to our body. We have our brother Asadallah Ansar El Muhammad saying authenticity arrives through a deep study of self
Facts.
analysis and adjustments based on non traumatic drama. Alhamdulillah, yes, sir.
Alhamdulillah.
Maybe he heard you when you said brothers get into Reiki.
Yeah,
Okay,
he
so
should.
yeah, we we have our sister Jenny Knight. She's saying Assalamu alaikum, ladies. Wa alaikum salam.
Alaikum
We
salam.
have Sister Sharon J. Muhammad saying Assalamu alaikum. I am seeking info on Reiki. So contact the sister. Um, and I mean, we just have people tuning in and people who are supporting, and we thank you all for tuning in and supporting. If there's any questions, go ahead and ask your question so that our sister can answer it. And I just want to say thank you for joining us on this episode. I hope you found our discussion with Sister Angela Muhammad as enlightening and inspiring as I did. Tonight, we explored the profound impact of Reiki on both the giver and the receiver, and the essential role it plays in promoting balance, relaxation, and healing. We discussed the importance of every healer needing a healer, and how embracing holistic practices like Reiki can help us maintain our well being while continuing to serve and uplift others. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, Sister Angela Muhammad, for sharing your wisdom and your experience with us. Your journey and your insights are truly inspiring, and we were honored to have you on this show, Proverbs 31 Woman, where we are
Very
building healthy relationships and we are redefining the modern woman in a traditional world. And that's what you represent. Because even though this world is forever getting further and further away from what it was intended to be as far as the functioning of male and female, women like yourself who are striving to stay modest and maintain their virtue in a wicked world, like I said in the beginning, must be uplifted and must be given their flowers. So we also want to say thank you to the listeners for tuning in. Remember that self-care and healing are not luxuries, but necessities for those who dedicate their lives to helping others. By incorporating practices like Reiki into our daily lives, we can ensure that we remain balanced, healthy, and spiritually connected. That is the key word, connected. Everything must work in unity. We must be unified. Our body must be unified mentally, spiritually, and physically. And we are social beings. So no matter what jobs we work, no matter what religious organizations we belong to, we have a social aspect that means that in order to stay healthy and balanced, you have to have human to human connections. So why not make the best of it? So everybody is a healer when you think about it, because just your presence and your smile can heal somebody and can add a positive notion to their day. We don't know what people are going through, but what we do know is that by being kind to each other, we can heal each other, even unknowing to ourselves. Now, we do have one question for you, and it's from Brother Student Minister Mark Muhammad. He says, how does one become certified in Reiki?
Yes, sir. That's a good question. So, to become certified, you have to get in contact with a Reiki master, because there are certain attunements that only a Reiki master has the ability to give to a practitioner. So, you have to go through a Reiki master. You get symbols that we have to use in our sessions. There's certain symbols that we use, and the attunements. It's like it gives you more power, but you have to be in touch with someone who has been certified as a Reiki master to actually become a level one. Then you go to level two, but you have to train up under a master of Reiki.
hmm And I'm glad that you said that, because we live in a modern world and now people are getting their certifications online. So just for those of you who are interested after watching this program, I don't advise that at all
I don't
because,
either.
like Sister was saying, no, because there's an attunement process that you're supposed to undergo before you even try to get Reiki
Right,
certified. And that's
right,
not taking place online. It's just this is knowledge that's up there, and they're just it's 100 people taking the same exact course. When this experience of becoming a practitioner, you literally have to first get healed. You have to experience what it's like to be in a Reiki session before you
right.
could even become a healer yourself, because you won't even know how to administer and what to expect. You won't know what your client's going to feel. You won't,
Right.
because you yourself have not undergone that
Experience.
process. So
Mhm.
I don't recommend. I would just, like the sister said, find someone. Don't do it online. Go look up someone locally who can do it, and you can actually be attuned first.
Right,
But that's just
right,
my my take. I don't
right.
want you to just
Yes,
run off online. It's
absolutely.
there.
That's right.
It's
That's
crazy.
right.
It's there. Um, And oh, you know what I wanted you to also talk about before we close? Okay, we have
Yes.
another question. But after we read this question, there's one more thing I wanted you to talk about before we close, but we'll do this one. Does one need to be level 2 before practicing on others? I'm
No.
level 1 and attuned.
No, ma'am.
Do
You
you
do
get
not. If you have received the level one attunement, then you can absolutely give sessions to others. Of course, the higher levels you get more symbols that you're using, and it's like the energy increases. It's a little bit more powerful the levels as you go up. But I remember when I first got my my level one attunement, I couldn't wait to start using it. And then I would do it on myself too. I was using it on my children. I was like, look, y'all come here. Everybody's gonna get some Reiki. I was doing it on everybody. So, and then
yeah.
it increases the more you're using it. That's why, as practitioners, we're encouraged to do self treatments. I'll do it at night while I'm asleep. I'll just go to sleep and I got, you know, put the symbols in, and I'm giving myself treatments at night, so and that increases the energy, it increases the flow, so we're encouraged to constantly do self treatments as well. But yes, ma'am, if you're level one, go to work.
Yes. And this is how you know with the level 1 and the level 2 when it's in person, because if it's in person you've already done Reiki sessions, because
Right.
in order to get the certification you be working on someone, so you're already a practitioner at that point. So that's the good part about the in person versus that online stuff, because online you're just you know reading.
Yeah, it's totally different, and I'll share my experience with my attunements. Even with my second, when I went to level two, like I said, they give you you get different symbols that you're using, which just makes the energy more powerful. But I also learned other things. They were teaching you how to be able to see auras. Like, we went through a training of
Yes.
seeing how to look at, and because you can train yourself to do that, to see the energetic field of other people. It takes focus to do it, but it can be done. I learned that through my level two training, but again, that was, my classes were 8 hours in the training, to get my level two. But that was one of the things that I also learned before I got the level two attunement and my symbols and everything. But I think
Yeah.
I would personally say I don't think you can get that type of experience by doing anything online. It's well worth paying I think my classes were $100 every time I went. It's well worth paying the $100 for the class, being in person with other people who are also going through the training, learning the same thing, and you get to practice. we were practicing on one another. We were um, able to, like I said, when we were doing the auras, we were showing each other how we did it, what we saw. It was an experience that you can't get from doing an online training. So I would highly recommend, if you're interested in getting attunements to become a level 1, 2, 3 Reiki master, even, that you do it with someone in person and get it that way.
Yes, ma'am. So you almost went into my second question because with you being level two, in level two, I don't know if all level two trainings are the same, but for my level two, that's where we learned the distant
Distance
healing. So
healing,
because of
yes.
that, and you being level two, and that's something Denise can look forward to. I wanted you to just send out a nice wave to the audience that has tuned in, because that's what a level two Reiki healer can do. She can actually send out a wave to everyone that's listening through symbols and through her energy, and she's allowing herself to be the conductor of the source. Like, it's coming from the source. So for me, Master Fard Muhammad, I don't know in the name of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, but everybody watching, that might not be the same thing. But the energy field that I'm saying in my mind that she sends this wave, that's for my protection. So
Yes,
can you
ma'am.
just send that to everyone and give us that blessing before we end this beautiful show?
Yes, ma'am. Let me get my symbols.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Now,
let me
everyone
also,
that's
I also want to share the
uh,
books. Okay, this Essential Reiki is the recommended book for studying Reiki. And I would recommend anyone who is interested in Reiki to purchase this book to actually get more knowledge of it. It has all the symbols in it for distance healing, as well as for level 1 as well. So, and it's Essential Reiki is the name of the book.
So while she's getting ready to send us the ninth wave of Reiki as we end the show, I just want to take this time to thank our sponsors, which is Student Minister Brother Mark Muhammad of Complete Solutions. I know y'all see the shirt, Complete Solutions. Y'all see the shirt. I have on my husband's company shirt today. And also Brother Kevin Jamal of Aline Juices, and they're both right here in Springfield, Ohio. Um, and I just am so thankful for the love and the support of the community in Springfield, Ohio, and the love and community, the support from everybody that tunes in. We have some other questions, but we're going to get to this next question after the sister goes over her wave of healing for us.
All right. Glasses on here. Okay. Hmm.
Sister, I love those butterfly earrings. I have some butterfly earrings too. Those are so nice.
Thank you, sis. In my you see my little garment here. I love
Yeah,
butterflies. Okay, so
I do too. I love them.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So for those of you who were trying to figure out what was going on, Sister Angela was sending out a wave of Reiki, and you can go back and watch it. And at any moment, that wave that she sent out is still going to have its same full power. And that is what is so beautiful about modern technology. Like, can you imagine? We think about Jesus and we think about him feeding the multitude, but we're not considering the fact that we too can as well. And he had the symbol of the fish. And when she's doing this Reiki wave, she was using symbols. So it's nothing spooky for those of you who don't quite comprehend. And we're not going to try to convince you because we don't even have enough time for that. But just do your own research because this is a very intelligent sister. And I like to think I'm not a stupid woman either. So if we're telling you with our education that this works, you got to take it
It
for
works.
because it's
It
like
works.
this is not some type of quack or something. This is actually a modality that can help us, that can heal us, and it
Absolutely.
does work. And the majority of the individuals who are into it are very intelligent. And once an intelligent person figures out something that works, they're going to promote it and they're going to stick with it. So, for those of you, please go do some research, learn more about this healing modality because, like I said, this is a very intelligent woman. And she just sent us out a wave of Reiki healing.
Wave.
And we did get a question from our brother Tony Muhammad. I believe he's student minister in Florida. He says, Assalamu alaikum, what are some of the greatest wins you have experienced using Reiki?
That's a good question. Um, so one of the greatest ones, I spoke about it earlier, was with myself, but I have also utilized Reiki. Um, the reason I was speaking about brothers, um, I don't generally do healing sessions with brothers because, like I said, with Reiki, it's touch healing. Um, and, so brothers can administer it to brothers. I can do distant healings with brothers, but the touch healing, I don't. But my husband, my ex-husband, I'm sorry, my ex-husband, um, he was sick. I think it was like the flu at the time that he had. Never had a Reiki session, never. And um, what I was doing was administering the Reiki treatments to him. He didn't know what it was, but literally I was touching his head. That's where I started, was his head. So he could feel it because it feels like you have like electrical sensations that are coming through your body. And so I remember he was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing to me?" And I said, "Listen, but when I say that it sped up his recovery, that was something." He was like, "What did you do?" And I had to explain to him because he didn't know anything about Reiki. He didn't know what I was doing, but I was healing him, or helping him to heal himself. So if we think about it, like when we were children and you hurt yourself or you bump your elbow or anything, and your mother she touch it, she would put her hands on it and kiss it or make it feel better. That it was still touch healing. So there's healing in
Right.
touch. The the
Yeah.
the modality of Reiki is just a powerful way to help promote that for you healing yourself. So I would say those are two of my biggest wins. I think the biggest one was when I was doing the treatments on myself, because I wasn't about to do surgery, even though it was recommended that I do it. I wasn't gonna undergo that, and I felt like I could heal myself, and that's exactly what I did, with the help of Allah. So those are, I think that's really like my biggest win. And like I said, the doctor I worked for, he went through the same thing pretty much. He had a posterior cruciate ligament tear. I had an ACL tear, but I went to one therapy session, and that was it. And he had to do 18 months of therapy, and that was no Reiki. He was just going to therapy, and no Reiki treatments. But that was my biggest win. And then, I mean, it just reconfirmed what I already knew, the power of Reiki, of the healing touch. So I'm encouraging brothers, like I said, because sisters who are, Muslims, we don't generally touch on other men. So if you're not my husband, I'm not, you can't get a treatment from me.
Right.
But I can do
Exactly.
distance healings. But the brothers who get trained in Reiki, they can administer that to other brothers. The distance healings are great. They work, and I've done them, and they work, and I've gotten feedback from
Yes,
people who have,
we do.
yeah, I've gotten feedback from them of how powerful it is. But I always like the in-person sessions. I have my own table. I'll come to you. You don't have to ask me, to find a location or anything. I'll pick up my table, come to you, do the session, and that's it. So I also utilize. I like to use crystals as well that help to enhance the power of the Reiki session. So, but to answer your question, Brother Tony, Assalamu alaikum, I would say that it was probably, what I experienced with my own self healing and being able to get my knee back to where it was functioning properly.
Mm, that was a good answer, ma'am. You know, I wanted to raise this one quote by Leo Buscaglia. He says, too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around. And
Mm, mm,
we got to be so mindful about that. I mean, so mindful. And for me, listening to you answer the question for Brother Tony Muhammad, it's like that's an eye opener for everyone. What are the memories of what you do? Because when we're all old, I'm talking about 150, when we're all, we've lived our life, that's what we're left with.
right.
Honestly, it won't be how much, it won't be, how many people you met. It'll be the memories like that where you had your life changed for the better or someone else. So that was a really good question because he said, what were some of the greatest wins you've experienced? And that could be applied to every aspect of our lives. What is the
Right.
greatest wins?
Right.
So if you're
Right.
all tuned in, we've had a phenomenal show. Our sister is a healer. Our sister is also like a great chef. She hasn't talked much about cooking, but I like to believe that most people who cook well are healers because there's just a component in their food that
Yeah.
you cannot explain. They can have the same ingredients, the same kitchen, the same pots, but the food just tastes different.
It's
When
the
you bite
energy.
into it could have been seasoned with salt and pepper just like everybody else's, but there's just a hint of something that you can't figure out. And it's everything you're saying was resonating for me because like even with me, I'm married and like I'm always giving my husband Reiki sessions, and he don't even have to know what's going on. And he'll be like, I'm tingling, I'm tingling. I felt something down in my foot. And I'm just like, so he doesn't even know that
What's
that's what
going
I'm
on?
doing. But
Right.
because you want a black man to be in the best health, the best condition, the best shape,
Absolutely.
of his life. You could be
Absolutely.
laying down watching a movie and you're giving him that light, because that's what Reiki is light. It's no different than
Absolutely.
what they said Jesus was doing. So I love
Absolutely.
how you elaborated on that, because it's the truth. When you get this service, it's not just to go out in the world and heal people. It starts in your own home. It starts with
Mhm.
yourself. So
Yes.
everything you're saying represents that you're living the life of a healer, because it starts with ourself, our homes, our family. Once you start to provide that, you want your atmosphere to reflect that, because you can't
Right.
even live in an environment where you can't have that healing, that light. It's just beautiful.
It has to be. It
So
has to
beautiful.
be there. Yeah, the whole environment has to be like a healing environment. And it's amazing because
Yes,
as Reiki practitioners, we carry that with us wherever we go. I mean, it's just with us.
yes,
So it exudes from us. I mean, like I tell you, I work in the the assisted living facility. So the other day, one of the residents fell, and that's exactly what I did. She didn't know, but the way she received it was like she knew. And,
mm,
it was amazing because she allowed me to do what I needed to do to help her heal through what she was going through because she was hurt. And I said, I'm just gonna,
yeah,
I'm just gonna touch you here, and showed her, and she was like, she allowed me to do it. It was like she knew what I was going to do, and she allowed me to do it. The whole time that I was doing it, she was perfectly fine with it. And afterwards, she just looked at me, she smiled. She's like, Angela, you are an angel. And it was like she knew. And I said, I'm here to help take care of you, you know so we carry that with us wherever we go. It's just a part of us. And that I'm a firm believer that my life is to be in service of other people. It's not just for me. you know I'm here to help serve other people. And so if I'm not operating in that capacity, Sister Eminence, you want to talk about depressed. If I'm not doing it in some way, shape, form, or fashion, if I'm not helping people, you want to talk about depressed. So I have to be doing that. It's just like it's
yes,
part
I
of who
get
I
it.
am. So
Yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. I know exactly how what you're saying. I know exactly what it feels like when you're not doing it. You're not yourself. And honestly, if you even have an argument with someone, you're not yourself. Whether it's a child, a mate, a friend, a
it,
coworker, you have to fix it. There's no rest that can come until you fix and mend that problem. You will
peace.
stay up all night.
It's got to be peace. It's got
And
to
then
be peace.
there's got to be peace. And then, once you have children that get a certain age, it's like a tremendous burden, because you're like, oh no, I don't care what time it is. We got to talk about this, and it's beautiful because it keeps you in a space of always operating on the best level, settling on the best part, because you know what it'll do to your own body, your own
Right.
mentality. You know that thinking wrong or operating at an emotion is going to throw off everything. So
Everything.
it's like there's only one way, and that's to do the
Right.
stuff the right way, because you just can't function if it's not done right, and I love
Right,
it. I love it.
right, right. You want to have
I
that
love it. And I can
harmony,
see
that
with,
harmony.
yes, yes, I totally get it. I totally do. But I had a great time. You have to come back for part two, where we'll probably
Okay.
do an episode. Yeah, we'll do another episode. I love the energy and the feedback that we're getting. People are
Oh,
responding,
praise
and
it to
this isn't
God.
a topic that everyone is so aware of. You would think they are, but everyone's really not aware of it. So this is bringing awareness to something that's beneficial to us. Reiki
Praise
is
be to
very
Allah.
beneficial to it is. And I'm a firm believer that if you believe something to be right and exact and good for our people, like we're taught about our lessons in our way, in our teachings, then you're supposed to invite people to it. So I believe that this is something that's good and beneficial. And I'm telling you all, if you want to learn more about it, you can reach out to the sister. And if you want to learn something locally in your city, Google it. Find somebody that can certify you. And even if you don't use it for anybody but yourself and your family, that's good enough, because physician heal thyself. That's what God told
Absolutely.
us in the Bible. So thank
Absolutely.
you, sister, so much. Do you have any more closing remarks? Because we're about to end today's broadcast.
I know. Just thank you for inviting me, sis. I mean, I've had a wonderful time conversing with you and talking about what I'm passionate about and sharing this with, enlightening us and hopefully inspiring us to embark on these other healing modalities that we have. Of course, we have medicines and all that. And I'm not saying that we should not. Um, look into that and take medicines as needed or anything. I would never say that, but there are other ways that we are able to heal each other and heal ourselves. So don't shy away from it. Like I said, do your research on it. Have a session. Try to see what it's about. See how you feel when you have a session, and just don't fear it. Don't fear other ways of possibly healing each other, because there's it's out there. All of this is out here, and it's available for us. It's ours, and we should use it. So,
Yeah,
but I wanted to thank
yeah.
you for even thinking about inviting me on to speak. I'm just thank you so much. I'm just really grateful. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Alhamdulillah, sister, you have been speaking truth for so many years. I mean, so many years. All you do is stay consistent. And for just so
Praise
you
God.
know, those who see, those who hear. Sometimes we get so accustomed to having something that we don't know what it's like when it's gone. And that's why
Right.
we always have to celebrate people, because when somebody is constantly speaking truth, we tend to not celebrate that because we're used to it. It's not that we don't acknowledge it, we're just used to it. And
Right.
we have to get out of that habit of being used to something and start utilizing something and someone's, because
Mm.
that's how we can stay on the course. You find people who have stuck to the course and you align yourself with those people. But I do believe that we are just in that hour, in that disposition of time where like-minded individuals will start to link up, because they're just
Coming
ultimately
together.
fed up with this world. So in order to, be the solution, we don't sit around and talk about the problem. What we do is we unite with other people who want to be a part of the solution, and collectively we become that actual atomic bomb that the Most
Come
High
on
with
now.
Elijah Muhammad. So I believe with all my heart, my mind, my body, my soul, that that is exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing for us today.
Praise
He's
God. Yes,
unifying those
ma'am.
who truly want to be virtuous, who truly want to be modest, who truly want to be healers. Because let me tell you, you can't be that without cleaning up first.
Come on
So
now.
it's just, it's just that time. this is a inner work. You know, a lot of the healers started creating products that were called energy. You see that a lot, like the
Yes.
energy, INNERG,
Right.
because that energy is more powerful than any other force. Because once we have aligned ourselves and made a commitment to ourselves, to be true to ourselves, our true selves is God. No matter
That's
what
right.
school of thought you go through, we are the only people that look like us that fear hearing the term we are God. Because you know what? When you start studying with the people who study geometry, math, science, the conclusion that they've came to is, guess what? We're God. They
That's
don't
right.
they don't get spooked out. They're not mystified. They actually say that, you know what? We become God again. So once you start studying all these schools of thoughts, you'll realize that everything that we needed is right before us. But the only thing that's missing is our unity. So once we
That's
pull in and unify, we won't even have that problem or that issue, or that our people will be healed because the unity will
mm,
heal them. So that's what I have to say about you being God. Exactly what I knew
praise
would
be to
happen
God.
is that you have a wealth of knowledge. You have your heart and your compassion is just there. And you really mean what you say. You're living what you say. I've never seen you any other way or in any other light than upright, striving to be virtuous, striving to be modest, striving to be a Muslim, devoted, dedicated teacher of truth. So, in my humblest opinion, if I was ever sick and I ever wanted a healer to come heal this healer, I'm reaching out to a sister like you. That's just me,
Yes,
because I
ma'am. Yes,
know that
ma'am.
you're not putting anything in me. you're giving you're giving some light, and you got enough sense to understand that if it's not your week, it's not your week. If it's not your day, hey
It's-
sister, I can't work with you today. And
exactly.
that's what I love, because we're human. We're not going to
Yes.
always have perfect and good days. We're going to have times where we need to sit down and get ourselves together.
Facts. And it's okay. It's okay.
Yes, it's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we close, I'm excited to announce that in our next episode, we'll be introducing Health Myth Busters with Brother Sean Ali. So be sure to join us as we debunk common health myths and provide you with accurate, empowering information for your well-being. So until next time, this is Sister Student Minister Dr. Eminence Muhammad wishing you peace, love, and holistic well-being. Good night and be well. And thank you, Sister Angela Muhammad, once again for
Thank
your
you.
beautiful presence on this platform. It was an
Yes.
honor, and we can't wait to have you back. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
So we always end this show out in prayer, because that's just our way. We come in peace and we go in peace. So at this time, we're just going to say the prayer, and then we're going to close out. Thank you, everybody, for joining and tuning in. This was a great show. My energy is so high right now. I feel so
Praise
good.
be to
I'm about to go listen to some music. So, prayer. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanirrahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Amin.
I choose one. Only fear that you deserve your praise. Out of your work at the city gate, you are. she fight you, where she fight you at?